Hey, welcome back to JB Breaks Free. So glad that you're here. I hope you're having a great day, a blessed day, getting 1% better than yesterday, and breaking free from anything that's holding you back from being the best version of yourself every day. And that's what I'm trying to do. I hope you're staying warm. Today was about 30 here, but I guess it's supposed to be about minus 15, minus 20. It's been a mild winter here in central New York, but it's going to get real for a couple days. Kids and wife are anticipating a snow day, so we'll see how that goes. I always can root for snow days. I'm glad that I'm still in the game because A, I don't have to go out in the cold and drop them off, and B, that they're home and it's just nice to have everybody around. Dropping them off is a little bit easier now. I used to walk with them when they were younger, just 2 blocks away, and it was actually easier than getting them in the car. When they were in elementary school, and of course I used to bring them to UPK. Those were crazy days, and boy, do they ever go fast, like everybody says. I can't believe it. But we'll see what tomorrow brings. Today we're going to get 1% better with the magic of thinking big. And I do have 2 chapters done. I'll do 1 chapter at a time here. This one is entitled Think Right Towards People. Kind of how you interact with people and how people view you. Are you viewed as someone who someone would want to help, or are you viewed as someone who's let's leave this dude alone? So we'll get into some of the highlights here. It says there's a basic rule for winning success. The rule is success depends on the support of other people. Whether you're a company president, relying on your employees, a salesman, relying on people to buy his products for. A college dean depends on his professors. A writer depends on the people who read. A politician depends on their voters. So now's the time to ask. Granted, I depend on others in order to achieve the success I want, but what must I do to get these people to support me, to accept my leadership? And the author says the answer is wrapped up in one phrase, and that is to think right towards people. Goes on to describe how to think right towards people. He goes, here's an important observation. In at least 9 cases out of 10, the likability factor is the first thing mentioned, and in an overwhelmingly large number of cases, the likability factor is given far more weight than the technical factor. And I can definitely see that. He goes, unfair, unacademic. No, if the fellow isn't likable, he can't be expected to get through to his students or whoever he's got to get through to. Mark this point well. I love this. He goes, a person is not pulled up to a higher position, rather he is lifted up. And being likable makes you lighter to lift. So just being likable can get you further in life because someone's going to actually want to help you be lifted up rather than pull this guy along or this girl along who they can't get along with. And I can see that. Certainly. There's probably a ton of better waiters than me. I mean, I had no experience or in my life, but I was likable, and I was teachable, and I was moldable, and I got the spot. And think about anything in your life where maybe you were more likable than the next person. It says President Lyndon Johnson has a 10-point formula for success. His rules: number 1, learn to remember names. Number 2, be comfortable with the other person so it's not a strain to be with you. Number 3, acquire a quality of relaxed, easygoing so things do not ruffle you. That's something that I've always tried to have at my restaurant where things can get crazy, is to be cool. And yeah, you can be freaking out inside on occasion. But I've always tried to never let him see me sweat, to never give him that satisfaction. Number 4, don't be egotistical. Guard against the impression that you know it all. That's certainly not my problem. Number 5, cultivate the quality of being interesting, so people will get something of value from their association with you. Number 6, study to get the scratchy elements out of your personality, even those that may be unconscious. That's pretty deep, to get your unconscious scratchy habits out. Number 7, sincerely attempt to heal on an honest Christian basis every misunderstanding you have had or have now. Drain off your grievances. There. Number 8, practice liking people until you learn to do so genuinely. Number 9, never miss an opportunity to say a word of congratulation upon anyone's achievement. And number 10, give spiritual strength to people and they will give genuine affection to you. Reread the rules again. Notice there's no get even philosophy here. There's no keeping score. There's no let the other fellow come up and patch things up first. There's no I know it all and other people are stupid. But don't try to buy friendship. It's not for sale. In that case, it's nothing more than a payoff or a bribe, he says. Friendship can't be bought, and when we try, we lose in 2 ways. We waste money and we create contempt. Take the initiative in building friendships. Leaders always do. I guess that also could mean taking initiative in nurturing friendships that you have. Sometimes I can let that go maybe a little, to be the first one to reach out, to be the first one to suggest something to do, whether that's doing something or just to say hi throughout a day. I think that's something I should carry with me. Yes, it's easy and natural, but it isn't right thinking towards people. If you follow the rule of letting others build the foundation for friendship, you might not have many friends. If you don't take the time to nourish those relationships, some of them are gonna fall by the wayside, I would think, and some of them won't start new in the first place. Actually, it's a mark of real leadership to take the lead in getting to know people. Next time you're in a large group, observe something very significant. The most important person is the one most active in introducing himself. I kind of get that, meeting people at the restaurant or seeing people meet each other at the restaurant. This book talks about studying people, and you can definitely observe people in that environment. Because think right towards people. As a friend of mine expresses it, I may not be very important to him, but he's important to me, and that's why I've got to get to know him. And my boss always stresses that, get to know the customer. And sometimes I might not be the most important person to that customer. Over time, you become very important, I think, and some people may look at you differently, but it's my job to make that person feel important. He's important to me. Doesn't matter if I'm important to him. Goes on to say, when you make a pleasant remark to a stranger, you make him feel 1 degree better. This makes you feel better and helps you relax. Every time you say something pleasant to another person, you compensate yourself. It's like warming up your automobile on a cold morning. Here are 6 ways to win friends by exercising a little initiative. Number 1, introduce yourself to others at every opportunity. At parties, meetings, work, everywhere. Number 2, be sure the other person gets your name straight. Be sure you can pronounce the other person's name. Number 3. Number 4, write down the other person's name. Make sure you've spelled it correctly. Number 5, drop a personal note or make a phone call to the new friend that you want to know better. This point is important. And number 6, last but not least, say pleasant things to strangers. It warms you up and gets you ready for the task ahead. Putting these 6 rules to work is really thinking right about people. And don't be timid. Don't be afraid to be unusual. Find out who the other person is and make sure he knows who you are. Talks about a person who has limitations in meeting people. And his big limitation was he expected perfection in other people. And what he needs to do is realize that, in fact, no one is perfect, right? That's a pretty easy one, but I guess some people don't, maybe a little tougher and not recognize that. Number 2, recognize the fact that the fellow has a right to be different. And number 3, don't be a reformer. Live and let live. You don't need to change everybody. Accept people for who they are. They're not 100% good. They're not 100% bad. He goes on to say that there's 2 channels, channel P and channel N, positive and negative. And if you tune into channel N, you'll catch something like, watch out, Mr. Jacobs is out to get you. He's a crab. You don't need any of his advice. The heck with him. Pretending that's your boss. And then channel P will say, Mr. Jacobs is a good fellow. He's nice to be around. He's helped me out. And bear in mind bear in mind, the longer you stay tuned to a channel, the harder it is to switch. And I try to think that about everybody, including my boss, when he could be tough on me. He's a really good guy. And I try to tune into that channel. And I guess that's what helped me last as long as I have. Because if channel N cuts in, he says, switch channels. Make a forceful promise to yourself. Refuse to let others prejudice your thinking. Stay tuned to channel P. Once you have mastered the technique of only letting good thoughts about people, greater success is guaranteed. Don't let other people drag you down and convince you that other people are not good. He goes, I've done hundreds of my own little conversations, and they've revealed this. The person who does the most talking and the person who is the most successful are rarely the same person. Conversation generosity, he says, paves the way for a greater success in two important ways. Number one, conversation generosity wins friends. And number two, conversation generosity helps you learn more about people. As we said in chapter 1, people are what we study in our success lab. And the more we can learn about them, the more we can influence them effectively in the way that we want. And he says, think about a large advertising agency. They are telling the public why it should buy certain products, but they also have a team that listens so they can write better, more effective ads. It goes on to say, don't be a conversation hog. Listen, win friends, and learn. The real test for thinking right towards people comes when things don't go exactly the way you want. How do you think when you're passed up for a promotion? Remember this, how you think when you lose determines how you think. Let me say it again. How you think when you lose determines how long it will be until you win. So he says, remember this, when things go wrong, just do two things. Number one, ask yourself, what can I do to make myself more deserving the next opportunity? And number two, don't waste time and energy being discouraged. Don't berate yourself, have self-compassion, make a plan to win next time. He sums up the chapter by saying, put these principles to work. Number one, make yourself lighter to lift. Be likable. Number two, take the initiative in building friendships. Number three, accept human differences and limitations. Number four, tune in to channel P, the positive, the good thought station. Number five, practice conversation generosity. Listen and learn. Number six, practice courtesy all the time. It makes people feel better. It makes you feel better. And I believe that's true. And number seven, don't blame others when you receive a setback. Remember, how you think when you lose determines how long it will be until you win. We've all had setbacks, but let's get back on the horse, get back after it, and our success will come sooner than later. And practicing courtesy all the time. I used to maybe keep score a little bit in the kitchen if I didn't feel like I was being respected enough or getting enough. Yeah, I guess that's the word. If I wasn't being respected enough or having courtesy shown back to me, and then I would fight against it until I got the respect that I needed. Right? That usually didn't work out too well. It just led for more battles, and then I just started being thankful and appreciative and courteous, no matter what, in every situation. Letting anything roll off my back, and things have gotten a lot better in the years to follow. So, we just got 1% better by thinking right towards people. I know we can all find some lessons in that chapter. Apply them to your life, write them down, and I can't wait to talk to you on the next video. The next chapter is going to be Get the Action Habit, chapter 10. We're getting towards the end of this book, and once it's done, I love you book. I'm going to put it right up into the girls' room. This book deserves to stay in the Break Free household, and hopefully they'll get something out of it as they get older. All right, I'll talk to you on the next video.